Hi ladies, it's Fanny over here, and in this video I'm going to show you how to contribute to WOM as of 2022. And Open Source for Equality's goal is to connect software developers, content creators, and development organizations to create a local ecosystem where open source software for development thrives. Open Source for Equality, also known as OSEC, has supported a number of projects implemented in Nigeria, Uganda, India, Pakistan, Rwanda, Tanzania, Brazil, Ethiopia, and many more other countries. Some of these projects include Audiopedia, Mendy's app, WOM, which we are going to look at shortly, OMA, Kwefe. So, WOM is basically word of mouth, and it is totally free and open source software used to make audio information accessible to marginalized populations. So the challenge is for you to create your own version of WOM using the existing WOM sandbox and deploy your own version of it. So first, before we go into it, we need some tools. You need to make sure that you have a computer, and then you need a code editor. I recommend Visual Studio Code. If you don't know how to set up Visual Studio Code, check out the video on how to install Visual Studio Code. I'll link it in the description. And then we need a web browser, either Google Chrome or Firefox. You can also check out how to install and set up Firefox or Google Chrome. And then lastly, we need GitHub. You need to have a GitHub account. I have a separate video on how you can set up GitHub account. So we are going to follow these steps to contribute to WOM. So the first step is to prepare your content. Now your content is going to be on a specific topic. Say for example, if you choose to make content about women's health, write down the content either in a book, or you can use Word, Microsoft Word, or Google Docs. And then the next task is for you to transform the text to audio. You can do this by simply recording using your phone or your computer. So once you have those steps ready, you have your content ready, we are going to go to step 2, which is using the WOM FM sandbox template. So after doing that, we are going to clone the template to local machine, make changes to the files. So we are going to do it practically. So we are going to go to github.com/osec.org. This is the repository for Open Source for Equality. So we are just going to scroll down. You can read through the documentation, and then you'll find here WOM.FM sandbox. This is where you're going to start from. So you simply click on it, and then right on the repository, you're going to see the option of use template. So you'll just click on use template, and then you'll create a repository name. This has to be a descriptive name based on your project that you're doing. So let's give an example, women's health. So you can write a description, which is totally optional, and then create repository from template. All right, now you can see we have a copy of our WOM sandbox. So what you're going to do, you're going to click on this and then copy this link. So after copying the link, let's just navigate to our desktop or anywhere in our computer. So I'll just right click and then click on Git bash here. Let me increase it. So I'll just do git clone, and then I'll paste the repository link and press enter. Make sure you have internet connection while cloning. So once the cloning is done, we are going to navigate to our desktop. You can see that's where we cloned it. So let's just minimize this. And then you can see women's health is right there. So when you look at this folder structure, it has audio as a separate folder. It has resources. So inside the audio folder, you're going to have all the audios here. So what you're going to do after creating your audio content, you're going to replace all these existing audios with your own audio. And then going back, we have a folder called resources. So in resources, we have that picture, which is basically in the README file. We have this picture, and then we have CSS files and the JavaScript files. Let's navigate back to the main folder and go to audio. So I'm going to look for my own personal audios from this computer and just copy it, and then come to the repository that I cloned and then I'll just replace all these audios with my audio. So I'll rename this to audio 2. Oh, sorry. I'll rename this to audio 2. So now I have 2 audios, and the next thing is we are going to open this folder in Visual Studio Code. So just open your Visual Studio Code, then go to File, open Folder, navigate to where you kept your file. In our case it is desktop, and then Women's Health, select folder. So once you've selected the folder, you can see we have audio 1 and audio 2, and GitHub is already tracking our changes. So navigate to index.html, right click, open with live server. So this is our WOM. So what we are going to do is we are going to go to audio.js, and then we rename all these. Say for example, the first audio is about stress awareness, so you're going to write that as the name here. In my case, I even don't know what this audio is about, so I'm going to remove it. And then the URL is audio1.wav, and then the source of the audio. This is actually what shows down here in your application. So you include the source where you got that audio information from. So since I have only 2 audios, that means that the rest of this I'm going to eliminate them. So I'll just remove all these and remain with 2, depending on the number of audios you have. If you have 10, you make sure that they are 10. So I just have 2, and then I'm going to replace this also with audio/2.wav. There's a slash here, don't forget. So let me play my audio. Alright, so basically that is how you're going to make changes to the audio files. Then the next thing is, how can we change this user interface? Like by default, this is how the design is. So changing the user interface, we are basically going to deal with CSS. So let me just open this in Firefox. The reason I'm opening it in Firefox is just to make it easy to inspect. So you just go to resources and then to wom.css. This is basically where all the CSS files are. But we are not just going to change all the files. We're just going to look for specific things that we want to change. So to do that, we are going to navigate to Firefox and then inspect what we want to change. For example, if you want to change the background color, you're just going to inspect, and then you see that the background color is right here. I don't know if you guys are able to see this, and it's the body, and it's on line 42. So when you come to wom.css and navigate to line 42, you see the body styles are right here. So we have the color. So let's try to change it to something of like dark green. So you can see. And then we have this heading section. Let's also right click that and then inspect. Go to pick an element. So we are picking this element, which is ID head, and the color is that. So it's on line 42 as well. So let's go back and make this also dark green. So we have this background, which is on line 82. Let's try to remove it. That's what happened. And then the height, you can remove that as well. So let's go back to our CSS and go to line 82, which is right here. And then we change the color to dark green. So we are just going to play around with inspector. So let's inspect this. This is HTML and it is on line 2. So we go to our CSS, line 2 background color. We are going to also change it to dark green. So now the background color is done. So we have to work with this. So we are going to do the same thing. Let's inspect, choose inspector, and then let's have this. So we have this ID, which is right here, and it is on line 303. So you come back to our CSS to line 303. It's right here. So we also give it a background of dark green. Go back, and then we have this section, which we are also going to do the same. We are going to inspect, and you can see on line 150, and we change the color to orange. So we go to line 150 and change the color to orange. Is it? So you can see now this is basically how you're going to customize it. Irrespective of how you want it, you'll just have to know how to use the inspector and change every section that you want to be changed. Now, after making these changes and you're content with what you have, let's view it in the mobile version. Let's choose a phone, Galaxy. So this is how your WOM application is looking like on phone. So after making all those changes, we are going to go to push our changes to GitHub. As you can see, GitHub is already tracking these files. So just go to terminal and click on new terminal, and then just type git status. So it will show you that the original audio files were deleted and replaced with new files. So what we are going to do is we are going to do git add space and then press a dot, which means that add all the items. Press enter. So after adding, you can see that the status has changed here. So after git add, we are going to do git commit -m, which stands for message, and then you write the message, which has to be descriptive. Change the audio files and modified CSS files. So after doing that, you can see our changes are already committed. So we are going to do git status, and it's going to say one commit is ahead of branch. So that means we have to push. To check we are going to push, we are going to do git remote -v, and then it will show you the repository where you're going to push your work. So let's just do git push. Press enter. Make sure you have internet for your work to be pushed successfully. Alright, so now you're done pushing, and you can see that it has been pushed to the branch main. So after pushing back to GitHub, next step is to host on GitHub Pages. So let's see how to do that. So we are simply going back to our GitHub repository, and then we are just going to refresh. So after refreshing, you can see that commit has been made 5 minutes ago. So next thing to do is you also need to work on the readme files. To do that, you go back here and go to readme.md, and then what you're going to do is you're just going to erase this and write your own description. You can write the documentation right here, and then come back and repeat the same thing. Do git add, and then you do a git commit, and then write your commit message. Let's say modified readme file, and then we are going to do git push. Alright, now that's pushed back. So when we come back here and refresh, you can see that the readme has been changed. So you need to write here descriptive readme. This was just an example. So we are going to go to the next step, which is to host on GitHub Pages. So simply go to settings and then scroll down. On your left hand side you see pages, and then it will ask you to deploy from a branch. So you come to branch and choose the main branch, and then click on save. So it's going to tell you GitHub Pages source save. So you just give it a few minutes. So after a few minutes, you can see it says your site is live at that link. So you click on visit site, and then you can see your WOM is ready deployed. So basically that's how you're going to create your own version of WOM app, and then every time you need to make any change, you just go back to your VS Code, make the changes, push it back to GitHub, and then it will automatically deploy on your repository. Thank you so much. I hope this video was helpful. And lastly, don't forget to document your milestones, your experience using WOM. Feel free to tag me or OSEC, or write a blog post on Hashnode or OSEC or Medium, whichever platform you feel like. Feel free. Would like to see your stories of your WOM app. If you have any questions, don't hesitate to reach out on Twitter. Thank you.